I don't currently own a Saab because of some confidential and military reasons. But I've done a tremendous amount of research and I would give it to you in just minutes. Saab started making cars nearly 70 years ago and they offered unique and useful features since their first car. The Saab 93 was released in 1955 and it had an arrangement of seats in which they can be folded completely flat, allowing two adults to sleep comfortably. And 70 years later, how many giant SUVs can actually do this? In fact, I don't think there is any SUV in which the seats can be folded to form a bed. Also, this feature was massively helpful to the people who went camping and on outdoor adventures. It also allowed people who couldn't afford to have a roof over their heads to sleep comfortably. And not to mention, the college-going teenagers were having a blast. The next feature is the hallmark of Saab. You see, when you sit in a Saab and try to start it, you won't be able to because you cannot find the keyhole for the keys. No, it's okay. That's not the first time you're struggling to find the right holes. But in a Saab, you've got genuine reason to do so. Because the keyhole is not present on the steering column like every other car, but instead it is present in the center console next to the gear lever. Saab did this because they found out that in an event of a frontal crash, the driver could potentially slide forward and their knees could hit the keys, causing knee damage. Now you might ask, why didn't Saab put the keyhole in the dashboard like Mercedes and some other German cars? Because putting the keys next to the gear lever allowed them to do possibly the most coolest anti-theft trickery in the 1980s. You see, when you put the transmission in reverse and take the keys out of the ignition, the gear lever would be locked in reverse and it cannot be moved to first or even neutral until you put the keys back in. Now this was revolutionary at the time. Remember, this was still the late 1970s where there were not any immobilizers and other security stuff. Anyone could just break into your car, bypass the steering lock, short two wires under the dashboard and the car would disappear. Now this meant two possibilities. Either the car thief would know about this feature and would not even bother breaking into a Saab and would just go to the next car, or he would not know about this feature, he would break into the car only to think the transmission is broken. So he would take basically all the stuff that is in the car but not the car itself, so the car is going to be safe. Now, Saab had been doing wind tunnel testing since their first car, and that's why when every car looked like this, the Saabs looked like this. And they found out that having a curved windscreen not only made the car more aerodynamic, but also greatly improved visibility, so went ahead and did it. When Saab released the 900 in 1978, it debuted with it a whole new revolutionary dashboard design. Now, this new dashboard was designed in such a way that all the controls which were the most frequently used, such as the radio and HVAC controls, were placed nearest to the driver and as high as possible on the dash, such that they were in peripheral vision of the driver. This meant that the driver has to take his eyes off the road for as less time as possible. Now you might be thinking that this is not particularly special and many cars do this, and you would be right, many cars do this now. But remember, this was the late 1970s, the time when radio controls were placed next to the driver's knees. For example, this was the BMW 5 Series of the time. Look at that position of the radio. Oh my god. And this is its next generation. Again, terrible position. And now finally 10 years and 2 generations later, this is the BMW 5 Series design. Now this is much better than the previous designs, but still not as good as the one on the Saab. And forget this BMW for a second. This car, the Saab, was built almost 47 years ago. And still even today, there are many car makers who place their HVAC controls so in the bottom, and for God's sake, they are touch sensitive. Yes, I am talking about Audi, BMW and Mercedes and many more which copy them. Older designs in so many ways were so much better than the current ones. And speaking of old cars being better than new cars, here's the next feature.
Your eyes have enough to focus on outside the car. That's why the Saab 9.3's aircraft-inspired night panel dims the information you don't need, illuminating only what you do. It's just one of the many ways Saabs are distinctively designed and independently inspired.
The idea had explained everything really. The night panel is a button which will turn off all the lights in the interior except the warning lights and the speedometer. This was done in order to reduce distraction and strain during long highway drives. And it is in stark contrast to today's cars where you will be dazzled and downright blinded by the idea of screens. I was really thinking, what if someone who has only driven a Saab for their entire life is made to sit in a Mercedes-Benz during a highway drive at night? How would he react? Also, Saab was the first to make heated seats as a standard equipment, something which even BMW still does not do today. Heated seats are an optional extra. They were the inventors of ventilated seats, which is found in almost every car sold today. They were the first to introduce side bars to improve side impact protection. I did my best for doing the research for this video, but in case I missed something, please let me and others know by using the comment section.